All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for part two of our deep dive into the current affairs from January 31st, 2025.
Ugh,
It's a lot to unpack, but that's what we're here for, right?
Absolutely. Let's break down these complex issues into those crucial insights you need to ace your UPSC exams.
Okay, so let's kick things off with some news from the energy sector. We've got a price hike for ethanol derived from sea-heavy molasses. It's up to 57.97 rupees per liter.
I know what our listeners might be thinking, another price increase. But this one's actually pretty interesting, especially when you consider India's ethanol blended program.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't just about fuel prices. It's about, well, I guess you could say a more self-reliant and greener India, right?
Exactly. The government is aiming for that 20% ethanol blend in petrol. And to reach that target, a steady supply of ethanol is crucial. This price hike, well, it's designed to encourage sugarcane farmers and those ethanol producers to, step up production, meet that demand.
Makes sense. It's a strategic move with some pretty significant benefits. So on one hand, you're supporting the agricultural sector, especially those sugarcane farmers. And then on the other hand, you're reducing our reliance on imported oil, which, let's face it, has massive implications for our economy and energy security.
Precisely. Plus, let's not forget the environmental benefits. Ethanol, being a biofuel, burns cleaner than traditional fossil fuels, so that means reduced carbon emissions. It's a win-win for everyone involved, really.
And not just on paper. The ethanol blended program has already made significant strides. Just think about it. Blending rates have jumped from, a mere 38 crore liters back in 2013-14 to a whopping 707 crore liters in 2023-24.
That's a phenomenal increase, and it shows the government's commitment to this program. They've recognized the potential and taken those concrete steps to make it happen. The results, well, they're there for everyone to see. Not just the increased blending, but also think about the foreign exchange savings. That's an estimated 1.13 lakh crore rupees saved over the past decade.
Impressive. Really impressive. All right, so let's switch gears now to something that might seem a bit technical at first, but it's crucial for understanding India's economic and security landscape. We're talking about the National Critical Mineral Mission, or NCMM.
Yes, the NCMM. This is a big one, especially for those of you interested in economic policy and those strategic affairs. Critical minerals, they're essentially the backbone of modern technology, manufacturing, and even defense.
Okay, I have to ask, for those of us who aren't geologists, what exactly are these critical minerals?
Well, think about it. Your smartphone, your laptop, even electric vehicles and solar panels, they all rely on specific minerals like cobalt, lithium, rare earth elements. These are what we call critical minerals. Absolutely essential for a wide range of industries, but here's the catch. Their supply chains are often concentrated in just a handful of countries, making us vulnerable.
So that's where the NCMM comes in, right? It's about making sure India has a secure and reliable supply of these essential resources.
Exactly. And it's not just about domestic production. The NCMM is also about acquiring assets abroad, investing in research and development, and, forging those strategic partnerships to diversify our sources of critical minerals. It's a multi-pronged approach, you could say, reduce our dependence on imports and secure our economic and strategic interests.
And the government's not just talking, they're investing a hefty 16,300 crore rupees. Plus, they're expecting another 18,000 crore rupees from public sector undertakings, right? That shows some serious commitment.
Absolutely. It's a commitment that makes perfect sense when you consider the long-term implications. Secure access to critical minerals. India can boost domestic manufacturing, enhance its technological capabilities, and really strengthen its position globally.
It's all about building a self-reliant India, not just economically, but in strategic sectors like defense and technology.
Exactly. The NCMM sends a clear signal. India is being proactive, securing its future, aiming to become a global leader in key industries.
All right, so from economics to the environment now, let's turn our attention to Greenland, where some pretty dramatic changes are taking place.
Oh, yes. This study is fascinating. It really highlights how climate change is impacting even the most remote corners of our planet.
So what's happening in Greenland? Fill us in.
Okay, picture this. Thousands of lakes in western Greenland. They were once peaceful carbon sinks, absorbing carbon dioxide. But now they're turning into carbon emitters. In just a single year, 2022, over 7,500 lakes flipped, absorbing to releasing carbon into the atmosphere.
Wow, That's a dramatic shift. What's causing this change?
The culprit. It's a phenomenon called atmospheric rivers, basically narrow bands of moisture in the atmosphere. They transport huge amounts of water vapor, often from the tropics towards the poles.
Ah, so these atmospheric rivers, they're bringing warm air and heavy rainfall to Greenland, right? And that's accelerating the song of permafrost, releasing all that stored carbon. Pretty alarming, wouldn't you say?
It is. And it's not just Greenland's problem. These atmospheric rivers are becoming more frequent, more intense, thanks to climate change. And their impacts are being felt globally.
They've even been linked to some major floods in India, haven't they?
Absolutely. Those devastating floods in Uttarakhand in 2013 and Kerala in 2018, both influenced by atmospheric rivers bringing unusually heavy rainfall.
It just goes to show what happens in Greenland doesn't stay in Greenland. Impacts weather patterns, ecosystems, even disaster management across the globe, including India.
Precisely. It's a stark reminder that climate change is a global challenge demanding a collective response.
Now let's dive into something particularly relevant for understanding, India's economic policies and their impact on small businesses. The Mutual Credit Guarantee Scheme for MSMEs, MCGS MSME, it's a bit of a mouthful.
It is, but this scheme is designed to address a key challenge faced by many MSMEs, access to credit.
Right, because for small businesses, especially those lacking collateral or a solid credit history, getting a loan can be a major hurdle.
Exactly. And that's where the MCGS MSME steps in. It's a safety net for financial institutions, you could say. Encourages them to lend more freely to MSMEs by offering a 60% guarantee on those loans.
So it reduces the risk for lenders, making them more willing to approve those loans for small businesses. Sounds like a significant boost for the MSME sector.
It is, and it's not just about the guarantee. The MCGS MSME also sets a pretty high ceiling for loan coverage, up to 100 crore rupees, in fact. So even larger MSMEs can benefit, access those funds they need to expand, invest in new technology, and ultimately contribute more to the economy.
This is a great example of how government policies can directly impact the growth of a sector as crucial as MSMEs. And it ties in nicely with the Make in India initiative, right? Strengthening domestic manufacturing, creating jobs.
Absolutely. It aligns perfectly with that vision. By making credit more accessible, it empowers those MSMEs to play a bigger role in India's economic growth story.
All right, let's shift our focus now to a topic that's deeply rooted in social justice and human rights: manual scavenging. The Supreme Court has taken a big step, banning this hazardous practice in 6 major cities.
A landmark decision, without a doubt. And it's crucial to understand the context. Manual scavenging, it's not just a sanitation issue. It's a violation of fundamental human rights.
Absolutely. It perpetuates social inequalities, exposes individuals to terrible health risks, undermines their dignity.
Exactly. And despite being banned under the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act of 2013, the practice persists in many parts of the country, often due to things like inadequate sanitation, a lack of alternative jobs, and deeply ingrained social stigma.
So this Supreme Court ban, it's a critical step towards enforcing existing laws, putting an end to this dehumanizing practice. A powerful statement upholding the rights of those who have been marginalized and exploited.
It is. But while the ban itself is important, it's just the beginning. We need to address those root causes, invest in proper sanitation, provide alternative employment, change those social attitudes. That's how we truly eradicate this practice.
It's a multifaceted challenge that needs a comprehensive and sustained effort from all stakeholders.
Absolutely. And there are government schemes in place, like Namaste, focusing on rehabilitating manual scavengers, providing them with alternative skills and opportunities.
Okay, we've tackled some pretty weighty topics so far, but before we move on, let's do a quick rapid-fire round, just to test your knowledge retention a bit. Some other important developments from January 31st. Ready?
Bring it on.
Okay, first up. The Union Home Minister has given the green light to over 3,000 crore rupees worth of projects aimed at mitigating the impact of droughts, lightning strikes, and forest fires.
A crucial allocation, especially given the increasing frequency and intensity of those events, climate change and all, reflects the government's focus on disaster preparedness and protecting vulnerable communities.
Next, the Supreme Court has delivered a verdict that's bound to spark debate about reservation policies. They've struck down domicile-based reservations for postgraduate medical seats, deemed it unconstitutional.
This ruling has significant implications. Raises questions about the balance between affirmative action, equal opportunity, and how we ensure fair access to higher education while addressing those historical inequalities.
Moving on to international news now, some big shifts happening in West Africa. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, they've all decided to withdraw from ECOWAS, the regional bloc.
Significant development reflecting those growing tensions, the instability in the region. It'll be crucial to observe how things unfold and understand the motivations behind these withdrawals.
Back to India now, where the Tisar, their third dam reconstruction project, has been approved, despite, those concerns about its design and stability.
Yeah, it's a controversial decision. Highlights those complexities of balancing development with environmental concerns. The Teesta River, it's a shared resource between India and Bangladesh. Any project needs careful assessment, thinking about its potential impact on downstream communities and those delicate ecosystems.
Speaking of impact, the renewable energy sector has a new quality control order to deal with. It sets new standards for solar PV modules and inverters.
Definitely a positive step, ensuring the reliability and efficiency of those solar energy systems. And that's crucial for India's, ambitious renewable energy goals.
And on the employment front, we've got the launch of eShram microsites and the Occupational Shortage Index.
Innovative tools these are, designed to improve workforce planning and skill development. Those eShram microsites, they're like localized platforms integrated with the national eShram database, a massive repository of information about all those unorganized workers in India.
So making it easier for workers, especially those in the informal sector, to register, access those government schemes, get those Social Security benefits they need.
Precisely. Information and resources brought closer to the grassroots level, empowering workers to know their rights and access the support they deserve. And then there's that Occupational Shortage Index, a fantastic tool to understand the dynamics of the labor market.
Like a real-time snapshot of, which occupations are in high demand and which are facing a surplus. That information, it's valuable for policymakers, educators, even job seekers.
Absolutely. It helps us identify those skill gaps, guide training programs, ensure our workforce has the skills to succeed in, such a rapidly changing economy. Analyzing data from the periodic labor force survey, it provides those insights that lead to better decisions at all levels.
A proactive approach, tackling unemployment and those skill mismatches, ultimately contributing to a more dynamic and inclusive economy.
Exactly. Equipping individuals with the tools and knowledge they need to thrive, a more adaptable and dynamic workforce.
Well, that's quite a bit of ground we've covered, from international relations to social justice issues, all through the lens of the UPSC aspirant.
Breaking down those complex topics, extracting those key takeaways for your exam preparation.
All right, we're not done yet. There's more to come. In Part 3, we'll delve into even more headline-worthy events from January 31st, 2025. Stick with us.
All right, ready to dive back in. Still plenty to uncover for our dedicated UPSC aspirants.
You bet. I'm really curious about some of these other headlines from January 31st, 2025. It's amazing, just how much happens in a single day.
It really is. And it underscores how important it is to stay on top of the news, especially if you're aiming to crack those UPSC exams.
Absolutely. Okay, this next one caught my eye. India's amended its double taxation avoidance agreement, the DTAA, with Oman. I know, tax treaties, they don't exactly sound like the most exciting topic, but
they're crucial though, right? They play a big role in those international relations and economic cooperation. Often fly under the radar, but those implications are significant.
Okay, so break it down for us. Oman, it's not always making headlines, but it holds a pretty strategic position, right? The Arabian Peninsula, gateway to the Persian Gulf.
Exactly. Close ties with both the West and the Middle East. For India, strengthening that relationship with Oman, well, it makes sense on multiple levels, economically and geopolitically.
So how does this DTAA amendment fit into all of that?
Well, it's all about preventing double taxation, for businesses and individuals who are operating in both India and Oman. It's about streamlining things, making it easier for companies to invest, to trade, operate across those borders.
So less red tape, a better business environment, ultimately fostering stronger economic ties.
Precisely. And that can have a ripple effect across various sectors, Think about increased investment in infrastructure and energy, tourism. It all contributes to economic growth, job creation.
It just goes to show diplomacy and economic policy, they go hand in hand. All right, this next piece of news is a bit more, somber. The U.S. president's issued an order to set up a migrant detention center in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, that name, it definitely carries some weight, some history.
It does. Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, it's been a source of controversy for years. The detention of suspected terrorists, often without trial, under conditions that, they haven't exactly been praised by human rights groups.
You're right. So Setting up a migrant detention center there, it's bound to trigger a strong reaction both domestically and internationally.
Absolutely. Raises questions about the treatment of migrants, the legal framework, the potential for human rights violations. The choice of location, well, it's certainly a sensitive one.
It is. It's something to watch closely, especially if you're interested in international law, human rights, the intricacies of U.S. foreign policy.
Shifting gears a bit now to a more positive note, India's extended humanitarian assistance to the Kurdistan region in Iraq.
A commendable move, for sure. That region has faced so many challenges, conflict, displacement, political instability. This assistance from India, it shows their commitment, to supporting those in need, fostering positive relations.
It also highlights the role India is playing in those global humanitarian efforts, offering a helping hand to those facing tough times. Okay, back to domestic matters now. The Teesta Third Dam project hits back in the news.
It has been a point of contention for a while, mainly because of its location and that potential environmental impact. The Teesta River, remember, it flows through both India and Bangladesh.
A transboundary resource.
Right.
So any project, it impacts both countries, especially when it comes to things like water sharing and the river's ecosystem.
Exactly. The Teesta Third Dam, despite concerns about its design, its stability, it's been approved for reconstruction.
So that decision, it's reignited the debate,
Mm-hmm.
about the potential for disrupting the river's flow, the impact on communities downstream, maybe even increasing the risk of flooding.
It's complex, no easy answers. Balancing those development needs with environmental sustainability, especially in a transboundary context, it demands careful planning, open dialogue, commitment to cooperation.
It really does. This situation, it just highlights how important those environmental impact assessments are. Transparency in those decision-making processes, strong mechanisms for resolving those transboundary water disputes, all crucial for sustainable development, maintaining peace and stability.
Absolutely. Okay, let's jump into the world of renewable energy for a moment. India has issued a new quality control order for solar products.
So what's the big picture here? Why is this move significant?
This order, it's a game changer for India's booming solar industry. It's about setting those higher standards for solar PV modules, for inverters, ensuring quality, reliability, safety.
Protecting consumers from those subpar products, making sure solar installations meet certain benchmarks for performance and durability.
Exactly. It also boosts the credibility of the solar sector, ensures its long-term sustainability. Stricter quality control, it attracts more investment, fosters innovation, ultimately speeds up India's transition to clean energy.
It's a smart move. Aligns perfectly with India's goal of becoming a leader in renewable energy. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about those initiatives aimed at empowering India's workforce. The launch of eShram microsites and that occupational shortage index.
These are some really interesting developments in the world of labor and employment. Those eShram microsites, think of them as localized platforms. They're integrated with that national eShram database, a massive collection of information about unorganized workers across India.
So essentially making it easier for workers, especially those in the informal sector, to register, to access those government schemes, get those Social Security benefits.
Precisely. It's about taking those resources, that information, bringing it right to the grassroots level, empowering those workers to know their rights, get the support they need. Then you have the Occupational Shortage Index, a fantastic tool for understanding how the labor market works.
So it's like a real-time view of which jobs are in high demand, which ones have a surplus of workers. That kind of data can be incredibly valuable for policymakers, educators, and of course for those looking for work.
Absolutely. It helps us pinpoint those skill gaps,
Yeah.
guide those vocational training programs, make sure our workforce has the right skills to thrive in this rapidly evolving economy. By analyzing the data from the Periodic Labor Force Survey, this index offers those insights that lead to smarter decisions at every level.
A proactive approach, tackling unemployment and those skill mismatches. In the end, contributing to a more dynamic, more inclusive economy.
Exactly. It's all about equipping people with the tools and knowledge they need to succeed, creating a more adaptable and responsive workforce, ready for the final leg of our journey through the current affairs landscape.
Absolutely. Let's wrap things up with a few more intriguing stories from January 31st, 2025. I always find it fascinating how each day brings a mix of developments, from groundbreaking scientific discoveries to those policy decisions that shape our world.
It's true, and I think for UPSC aspirants, it's about more than just knowing the facts. It's about connecting the dots, seeing how those events fit into a larger picture.
Okay, so are you ready for this? Scientists have found building blocks of life, on the asteroid Bennu.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
It's a pretty remarkable discovery. You remember those samples collected by NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission a few years back? Well, after years of analysis, they've found amino acids and nucleobases.
I have to admit, my organic chemistry is a bit rusty. Remind me, what are those exactly?
They're the essential ingredients, you could say, for proteins and DNA, the very building blocks of life as we know it. Finding them on Bennu, well, it suggests that this asteroid, or maybe the larger one it broke off from billions of years ago, had the potential to support life.
So we haven't found actual life on Bennu, but the ingredients were there. That's just incredible to think about.
It really is. And it opens up so many questions about the origins of life on Earth, Could those building blocks have been brought here through those asteroid impacts? Is life more common in the universe than we thought?
It's a discovery that definitely sparks the imagination. Okay, let's shift our focus back to Earth now, and to a topic that I know is close to the hearts of many Indians, our space ambitions.
Ah, yes. India's journey to the stars, it's captured the attention of so many. What's on your mind?
Well, there's been a lot of excitement surrounding the Gaganyaan mission, India's first human spaceflight program. But lately, not many updates. I'm sure our listeners, especially those preparing for the UPSC, are wondering about the status.
It's true, the Gaganyaan mission has faced some delays. And it's understandable. This is an incredibly complex undertaking. It demands meticulous planning, rigorous testing, development of some cutting-edge technology.
So it's better to err on the side of caution, right?
Mm.
Ensuring the safety of those astronauts is paramount.
Absolutely. And ISRO, they have a reputation for being meticulous. They won't rush something as ambitious as human spaceflight without being absolutely certain that everything's perfect.
It's good to hear that. And, it's important to remember that India's space program is not solely focused on sending humans into space. There are so many other projects pushing boundaries, exploring, innovating.
Absolutely. Think about those lunar and Martian missions, the advances in satellite technology. India is really making its presence felt in space exploration. And those endeavors, they contribute to our scientific knowledge, of course, but also to technological advancements that benefit us right here on Earth.
A testament to India's growing expertise in science, in technology, engineering, math. So while we're all eager for updates on Gaganyaan, there's so much happening to keep us inspired, informed about India's journey to the stars.
It's a journey that's just beginning, really. The future of Indian space exploration is bright, filled with ambition and a determination to achieve those goals.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into current affairs for January 31st, 2025. We've covered a lot of ground, analyzed policies, explored global events, even pondered those big questions about the universe, all with the goal of equipping you, our dedicated UPSC aspirants, with the knowledge and insights you need to succeed.
It's been a whirlwind tour, and I hope our listeners found it informative and engaging.
And remember, staying informed, engaging with current affairs, it's not just about memorizing facts. It's about developing that critical understanding of the world, making those connections between events.
Exactly. So keep those minds sharp, stay curious, never stop exploring.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive, ready to explore the ever-changing landscape of current affairs. Until then, best of luck with your preparations.